Okay, here I am. Once again, all production by myself. I think the video is getting better because I'm actually using the camera correctly. We'll keep going with that. Standup Accelerator Workshop recap for week 46, 27th week this year, 46 all time. So yeah, this weekend July 6th, it was Texas hot. We're getting up in the high 90s, so welcome back to Texas, which is trying to remind you that human beings are not supposed to be here and it's going to burn you off the surface of the earth. We had about 30 students. We started out this week with housekeeping. There was a lot to do actually in housekeeping. I talked about people jumping into the online Google Doc that I have set up as sort of a beta test case for how we want to do development online with multiple people helping you write a bit. And so this was a Jeffrey Dahmer story that I had started, and I threw 4 or 5 other things into it. And so people can find that link in the show notes and in the private Facebook group and go in there and see what other people are writing. You can do whatever structure you want, but some people are cutting and pasting the full script so they can work on their own version of it. Some people are making comments on the side, all good. So we need to get to where we develop that and where we're comfortable with it and we can see how it works best. Because again, in the workshop itself, people only have a few minutes. There's 30 people. So everybody gets, a minute on stage and then some feedback, which I think is good. I think there's a lot to learn by watching other people do stuff, but you don't get a lot of direct script development and even performance development, character development, communication development, psyche development. So we need some outside stuff outside the 2 hours that we spend a week at the Creek and Cave. Also in housekeeping, David Kahn has set up a book show. It's actually for tonight. I'm recording this the day after. It's a book show and then open mic at Pok-e-Joes barbecue. And yes, you get paid in meat. And yes, I will be there and I will do a set. We'll see how that goes. Rock is now booking a new version of the Saloon show on Sundays. It's not for the Standup Accelerator, it's just going to be a stand-up show. The Standup Accelerator Showcase is moving to Thursdays at the Saloon at 9 o'clock, in theory. So that has to be set up. Hit up Rock on the Facebook group if you want to do spots. Then we jumped over into the career section, which I kind of focused on Louis C.K.'s new special, Ridiculous, which premiered on June 30th on Netflix. Yeah, he's still a bit of a, touchy point for a lot of people culturally and socially, but man, the guy's a great stand-up. Like just within the idea of using all the technology of stand-up, all the tools, really setting up so that the bits are all cooked. And he's got the best cooking system in the world. And when he goes up, people love him, instantly. Even the people who hate him, they still want to see his stand-up. And he's going up in front of full rooms. It's the best way to develop stand-up comedy. So good for him. And the special is really good. If you want to learn about all the art of stand-up, using language, surprise, shock, personal details, intimacy, idea-driven comedy, watch it because it will give you a lot. And again, I could care less about his social villainy. That's not what we're talking about right now. We're just talking about the art of stand-up. So I do separate those things. Also mentioned that the workshopper and local producer, comic / hustler, really, one of the hardest working people I've seen in comedy, especially here in Austin, Destiny Lilane, has signed a year-long brand deal with an energy drink named Smashed. And they sent her this past weekend to NASCAR. I think she's going to do 6 NASCAR events where she's creating social media content at the event. You can follow her at NASCAR for Bimbos. And more power for her to her. Like that is a great outcome. A lot of what stand-up is becoming now is not so much making money in stand-up, but making money outside of stand-up with stand-up skills. And I think she's nailed it. So there's a lot going on there. So follow that. Go and follow all of her Instagrams and threads and every place else that it shows up. You'll learn some stuff. Speaking of learning in the education segment, this is our 3rd week on story. So far we have a simple plot, which is a 3-beat plot, 3-act plot. We have characters, strong characters, adding details. And this week we added in the 4th dimension of emotion. Great stories are completely saturated with emotion, just drenched in it, drowning in emotion, both huge emotions and very, very small micro emotions. Every time a character speaks, it's like, for actors, it's like they're playing an emotional keyboard. That's the fun part. It's like, what are the emotions here? I said this word, now I'm reacting to this, and it's all emotional change. That's why it stays interesting. There's a ton of change going on inside of characters within a story, and you need to play those emotional beats, just like playing, like I said, a keyboard, some type of orchestration for it. That means two things really. Your characters all need to have emotions, and you need to show emotions about all your characters. We should know how you feel about these characters. If you are going to be talking in stand-up about a character you hate, we should feel hate. We should see that hate coming through you. If something about you love or you're shocked by, we should see that and feel it. That's your job as the storyteller. It's one of the signs of an underdeveloped story, an underdeveloped storyteller, is that they're missing all the emotional beats. They're kind of telling us something with the same emotion all the way through. And psychologically, for the audience, that's going to get boring really fast. Even if you have an interesting story plot-wise or an interesting character, if you don't also have interesting emotions, it lets people off the hook and they'll stop paying attention, as deep attention to you and your character as they should. Then we went into the active workshopping phase where we let people go on stage with the characters that they'd worked on. And our agreement this week was everybody was going to super work on these characters and bring in something that sizzles. I'm not sure we got to sizzle level. A lot of people brought in characters that were very workable, work-withable, developable, which is how I kind of always see people in stand-up, especially around Austin. When they go up, my reaction is almost always, I can see what they're doing could be. They've got maybe 10% of it or 20 or 30% of it on the stage. And they aren't bringing all the things together that actually makes it work. Again, the script isn't fully developed, the performance, the character that they're in, and their ability to communicate with power and presence and being in the right psychological state in order to do all those things. So a lot of people brought in cool characters. There was a snake handler that Pat talked about. Anastasia did her analstasia, which could be, it's a very interesting thing that she's working with, sort of crossing sexuality and porn and stripping and all these things with stand-up. There's a tradition of that in stand-up and it could work, but it's got to be clear, it's got to be developed. There are a couple of unpleasant mother-in-laws, unpleasant aunts, unpleasant teachers. So a lot of people were working with negative characters, which is fine. But again, what it's missing most commonly, first of all, is detail. People are using generic descriptions instead of specific descriptions, using generic abstract words instead of specific detail words and concrete words. So we can't actually experience the character the way you experience them, and that's your job as a storyteller, is to recreate this character in the moment with the same type of vivid and sensory detail that you have about them, so that we can now go, oh, I get that this person is hateable or mean or scary or whatever. So we started on that. And we kind of finished up after that where we had about 20 minutes left. And I brought up the idea of, is the workshop functioning as well as it could? Because I'm always trying to make sure that things are functioning well. It's not just about repeating the same patterns over and over again. It's always investigating them to see if they're resulting in actual improvement. Are we improving people's scripts? Are we making people better stand-ups? Are we getting people gigs? Like, what is the result of this time we keep spending in the accelerator workshop? And to me, I think there's always value in it, but acceleration, like career acceleration and quality acceleration, is a different metric. And I'm not really seeing a ton of that in the people that are in the workshop. And again, the way I look at it is always, and I said this during the workshop, every single person in that workshop that was sitting out there listening has done stuff on stage that I'm like, that could be an A-level pro comedy club quality bit, or that character, or the performance. Everybody has stuff, they have assets, but we have to work really hard to develop it. So one of the ideas that came out of this is that we're going to try to stay on the same development track for longer. So we're going to take, like this week was supposed to be sizzling characters, highly developed characters. And we got, maybe 20% of the way there. So we're going to go next week and do the same thing. Maybe we'll do this for 5 weeks in a row of just bringing in characters until you start to realize and people start to feel in their, in their psyche and in their guts, like this is a fully developed character. I know the difference. So we'll just keep working on them until we get to where more people really have a super strong character they can take on stage. And I'm going to put one online that I've used before in stand-up. And I wouldn't say it's completely developed, but it works as stand-up in this character. So I'll talk about that, and I'll post an example of that a little bit later. So yeah, we're going to stay on it. We're going to keep working on it. So, next week you should be able to come in with a base plot, which is a super way to start, to hook people, maybe 3 beats, and then a great way to finish. And it can be longer, whatever the character can sustain that. But it has to be driven by a strong character. So you have a plot, super strong character with super strong details to make it real, make it vivid, and then emotions as you're going through this. So we're going to double up. We're going to see what happens when people get to a second round. Maybe we'll do 15 rounds until everybody just has this amazing bit about a character, or 5 characters, I don't care. It's one of those types of, one of those areas of stand-up that if you do it really well, you'd be surprised how much of stand-up is really just people talking about other people. Also, like Scotty talked about a cat, like a rescue cat that he got and how crazy it is. It can be anything like that. It can be a character, it can be a place, a person. There are lots of ways of doing this, but it's all really character development. So looking forward next week to hearing some of the sizzle. Everybody come in and just sizzle away, blow the room away. As I say, I never stop people on stage when they're killing. I only stop you when things aren't developed as fully as they could be, so that we can all sort of gang develop it and hopefully push it forward faster. That is the idea of this accelerator. Come on down. We'll see you next week.